Hello. Hello. Thank you so much for coming to the Sashiko Live Streaming. This is Atsushi. I will do the Sashiko Live Streaming where I talk about Sashiko while doing the Sashiko stitching. This is not a tutorial, webinar, or lecture, so I am not going to answer the technical question that I have to stop stitching, but I would welcome any questions related to Sashiko if I don't have to stop my stitching. Sorry to be late a little bit. I just realized that the back screen of this cover was 24th, October 31st. I just changed it right now, so it took a little bit time to change that. Halloween is here. Happy Halloween. We were just back from the trick-or-treating and we gave some chocolate away. And I think nobody's going to come at this point. I hope nobody comes at this point. Few announcement. The first announcement is the workshop in 2025. I do have several workshop, either 3 days or 5 days in 2025. I believe that one day workshop in QuiltCon is sold out at this moment. And if Sashiko is something you would like to learn seriously, I believe that 3 days Sashiko workshop or 5 days Sashiko retreat will give you the comprehensive understanding. I'm not gonna say it's everything, but it's gonna be a good start. It's gonna be a good package to start your own Sashiko journey. So if you could consider taking one of those 3 days or 5 days workshop, that'd be great. And the actual link for the registration is on the description area, so please check that out. And starting from 2 weeks from now, I will do the live streaming next week, but after that, I will not have any live streaming in November because I will be in Japan offering the Sashiko retreat, Sashiko Japan Sashiko retreat. And I have been receiving quite many requests for the 2025, so I will decide when exactly we can do that after I come back from the Japan. So please take a look at what I can offer, what I do offer as the retreat in Japan. And the third thing is that I will be in Japan for the November for the exhibition as well as the retreat. And the exhibition's information is here. If you read Japanese, please take a look at this. And there's a QR code here. If you may be able to kind of capture that. And I will share as many photos as possible. At the same time, I decided to make another designated website page where I share more personal things. I will not share any, like for example, my daughter's face is not gonna be in public. I shouldn't be in public. So those are gonna be on those special website, and I really appreciate your support to make it happen for me. It's more like very much for me. It has been quite challenging time for 2024, and it will be probably pretty challenging for 2025. So if you could check that information, that'd be really appreciated. All the links are in the description area. Okay, let's start stitching. So this is the pattern. Also, I completed all of the 4 different geometric patterns, and I will bring it to Japan for the project. And this is actually the 5th one, which I did not assign as the assignment. But when on my website, this is the 5th pattern that's part of it, and I would like to make a sample because of that. It's kind of like there's no name for this. I put Keiko first because that's what my mother kind of combined together for the first time, but it does not mean that she owns it or something. It's just the kind of interesting patterns. Okay. touch it. It should be okay. Yep, let's start. Happy Halloween, happy Halloween. This Halloween is pretty warm. That's quite unusual to me. For some reason, Halloween, in my memory, is quite cold all the time. Today was quite warm, which is pretty weird. Well, I guess global warming or something is happening right now. よいしょ。は、あぐよ。Hey, I cannot believe that I'll be in Japan in 2 weeks. Yep, this is the new panel, the final fabric that I have with the pattern pre-printed. Everything else, this will not be a part of the project, so I'm just stitching for the purpose of sampling it. I will show you the wrong side of the stitching for those who purchased that. So, it's quite strange if I don't have only this one not stitched. So, wow, it's really warm today. It was warm and then I thought it's gonna get a little colder, but it's really warm. I'm getting sweating. Ay. Yeah, sweating. Well, but it's quite unbelievable that it's already Halloween. 2 months to complete 2024. That's quite strange to me. Hello, hola, hi from Uruguay. Here, 27 Celsius, that is hot. It's probably close to that here too. Ah la 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 la. 滑る. Yeah, the 2024 has been, well, I mean, ever since I got older, every year I feel like it's like happening so fast. But more than ever this year, a little bit. Well, I probably because I did not. I had a quite good amount of time for this fall for stitching, and I enjoyed that time. I kind of needed that, so I kind of restricted the amount of workshop I would do for 2024, and that was a very good choice. So I think I had enough time to enjoy the year, but quite strange that I feel this way. Well, Sashiko has becoming, it's changing its form every single day, so this is kind of my guess, but 5 years from now, when the pace of Sashiko changing, the pace of changing, Sashiko's change itself is this fast, they might kind of stop using the word of Sashiko at that point, which is actually a good thing to me. I may go through more difficult time to advertise what I do. At the same time, if the word is not really used in the wrong way, I don't have to worry about it too much. So it's probably right now like slow stitching, upcycling, and right now it's probably zero waste fashion. That's probably the trend if I can kind of summarize what's going on the um, social media. I am retired since 31st of January, but the year went fast. Congratulations for your retirement. That's a very good thing. Well, you can have a lot of time for stitching. I hope you can have a lot of time for stitching. Sue, 28 Celsius here. Hot but breezy. In Hawaii, I have to say, I hate to say, but I am missing air conditioning. Wow, you are in the best part of the world. I wouldn't say best. Well, I don't mind saying the best part, actually. I like Hawaii, so. Well, I mean, I only have been there once, but that was pretty good. It was my brother's birthday. Not a birthday, wedding. I'm learning Sashiko and it relaxes me. That's good, that's good. I want everybody to find their own peace in this stitching. But in any way, it's fine. I said that in Japanese this morning, but I think I have achieved my goal, to be honest. So the first goal that I started doing this journey in 2005 was to leave the idea of using this thimble behind, because that was quite. It's okay. I think it's safe to say that the word unshin for Sashiko and the way to use this thimble was a dying tradition. I'm not saying that I was the only one who was doing it, but it's safe to say that nobody was actively sharing that to somebody else outside of their circle, community. So that's why I made the video. I started teaching online, in person, and then online because of COVID. So those are. I wanted to do that. So once again, my goal is to leave this idea behind. One doesn't have to use this thimble, or one doesn't have to hold the needles like that to enjoy Sashiko. At the same time, the book written before 2008-7 about Sashiko, they did not mention about this thimble, and at least not how to use it. So the goal was to leave this information behind. And in 2014, not 14, 24, even 23, I kind of feel that this thimble has become the main, not a trend, mainstream of using the thimble in Sashiko. Of course, there are still people who use the hoops or, whatever thimbles they feel comfortable. But from that perspective, my goal has been achieved. So I am happy for that. It's just little bit of adjustment from here because it comes too fast that it comes with a little bit of different thing. Just a second. What do you like about Hawaii? I have a mixed feeling about it. The weather, food, kind of Japanese-like community, beach. I think I liked it because I was the tourist. I don't know if I would like that if I lived there. Although, there are quite many big Japanese communities, so I would probably find a good place to be. But, I really don't have a place in this place right now besides this online. I don't really hang out outside, and I'm not a type of person who goes to the barbecue every single weekend. So I have been trying different style thimbles to find something comfortable, and now I want to try making some thread knuckle thimble here probably. I do have I thought I had the thimble bag somewhere. There are quite many thimble to enjoy with. Probably the mainstream before this, like before 2016 or 15, the main thimble they used was either on this index finger, like on top of the finger thimble, or here, like this place. And this thimble here is the thimble for wasai. I mean, in Japan, in different country, probably different culture has different way to call it or use it. But in Japanese sewing practice, the thimble here is for the wasai as the kimono making, and that's completely different category of sewing or stitching in Japanese culture. And sewing, I mean, wasai is very structured and almost protected, for that matter, from the I don't know if the Japanese governments are helping it, but it is very well structured. So there are schools to go and learn, and it takes probably a few years to graduate, or maybe more than that. And there's a like certification to be a professional wasai-shi, the person of wasai, the master of wasai. It's really unlike to Sashiko, where we don't have any structures, no system, no structures to kind of, well, in another word, there's no authorities, and there shouldn't be any authorities for that matter. The authority isn't gonna kind of destroy that. Here we don't have this thimble, so people make. Well, that's how this thimble started. But making is also good, but at the same time, sometimes a good thimble can help a lot of things. So, when you have a chance to get it, please get it. That was kind of like original way to, our original, my upstream didn't have this metal thimbles in the beginning too, of course not. It was like probably as Galsila says that it's like with fabric. It was with the fabric too, and they put stone first, like a round, small, thin stones inside, and then when the coin kicks in, like that kind of metal kicks in, they put the metals inside somehow. So everything started like that. But at the same time, many Sashiko artisans spend so much time and effort to make something they wanted to use for longer terms of period. So this is kind of like a summary, not a summary, essence crystallized wisdom. So why don't we use that? Like I feel like we can use that when there's availability. But once again, I'm not saying, and I'm not going to say, I will not say that. I'm not gonna say if one does not use this thimble, it's not Sashiko. I'm not going to say that. So don't get me wrong with that. So yeah, it is gonna be the month. The November is gonna be the month of reconnecting myself to the origin. It's a bit scary. Oh my god, something's wrong with this. Something is shaking. I don't know what is shaking. I want to go back to Japan, but I don't want to go back to Japan. I love Japan, but I don't want to go back there. Well, I kind of know the specific reason that I do not want to go back to Japan. I do have the reason that I don't want to go back, and it's quite explainable, but at the same time, there are unknown part of me being afraid of going back without any specific reasons, I guess. I do have a reason that I can think of to be this kind of status. It's not all about excitement. I get sometimes excited, but 10% excitement, 9% anxiety, panic attack kind of thing. So if this was just for myself to go back to Japan, and let's say that I go back to Japan for the purpose of traveling around Japan to meet Sashiko artisans, that's something I would like to do if I have time and fund. But at the same time, I don't know if I can go back there by myself. I need the reason that I cannot cancel that. The offering the retreat, I cannot cancel it at this moment. I've involved so many people, and I cannot thank them enough. So no matter how hesitant I become, it is going to happen. But Wendy, the design is beautiful. Did you transfer it to the fabric with charcoal and ballpoint pen? We used to do that, but it's a little bit too much of line. So for this pattern specifically, we transferred that with silk screen. So we have that fabric available on our website too. It is the part of the jacket. So this is the part of this jacket. This is the flyer for the exhibition in Japan, and this is a part of that jacket, the same patterns, and it's a quite lot of fabric to make that jacket. So we kind of must produce that by hand. But what is something that I'm looking forward to in Japan? Yeah, let me think. Silk screening is a great way, but the point is that it took quite long time for us to find the oh my god, it's a wrong thread. Good catch. Good catch. Whew, that was a good catch. Wrong color. It was a very challenging for us to come up with the washable ink that we can wash it out after silk screening. The ink company is like, why do you have to wash it out if you're gonna silk screen that? Well, that's a very good point. So it took about a few years to get it happen. Hello, Sharon. Welcome. Happy Halloween. Trick or treat? No, it's not gonna happen here, I guess. What do I don't know. Like, that question, I don't know if I can answer it right now today. As Sue says that having my daughter here there would be, yeah, I really hope that would change the experience, but I still remember the first day that I got back to my own city in 2023 as the Sashiko tour, so food? Yeah, yes, probably, but so I probably wrote it, well, I probably say it here a lot too, but I cook a lot. I really don't eat out. So I can technically make whatever I want to eat. So of course it's very difficult to get raw fish here, so I don't really make raw fish dish here. So that I enjoy in Japan probably, but other things I can make it here. Like those chicken thing or meat things, whatever, you know. So my daughter might be a little bit of, oh, so it is actually the same taste then. I am very much looking forward to meet or see the people who took my online Sashiko class in Japan. I mean, they're not really my student anymore. They're very, very good. So that is probably what I'm looking for. It is good to meet and stitch together, share the same time together. So that's probably, well, and that's the reason to go back too. You know, if the sightseeing, taking a photo in the shrines, those like, thousands, red gate, shrine gate, like, Fushiminari is the place for that. It's a very beautiful place. But right now it seems like there's so many people that it's kind of impossible to take a good photos. So those are, I don't have to be there for that purpose. As we have a quite limited time, I would like to offer something only I can offer. And this time, once again, well, 2023 was one time that was my life-changing turning point. Not a fan of weird, no, not a fan of weird Kit Kat or Pocky flavors. That's something I can probably bring back. My daughter will probably like. Well, I don't know. We can buy it in the US too. Not like extremely weird, but some weird. Yes, I will meet the Kogi masters in Tokyo. Her name is Takagi Sensei. And actually, she's the one who is rushing me to have this tour. Uh, she keeps saying like, "Well, you gotta come sooner, come earlier. You gotta plan it first because I don't know how long I can teach you, meet you." She's very, very energetic, very fine, very, you know, healthy person. But the age is age, so we have to. Yeah, and my mother Keiko's word that we don't have that many years left to offer the same thing we did in 2023. So that's the reason that I did not wait for 5 or 10 years to make it happen. My parents are immigrants, and when they returned to Spain, it was not easy for them. The look changes. Sometimes the fear of feeling evaluated by those they left behind. I am sharing, not affirming. Yeah. I appreciate that. It's like a mix of feeling. It's very it's both guilt and shame, but there are also something else as well. I'm glad you accommodated her unscheduled trip now. Yeah, it's probably very true that we don't have that many years to go. I mean, it's gonna be different experience. I'm not gonna say that it's gonna be less quality or less fun. Ah, there's gonna be always fun things to do. But at the same times, we have to acknowledge, we have to, understand that we age. And I'm glad. I'm glad that I could offer it this time too. Well, my daughter is a little, it's a big, how can I say, big price that I had to pay. But that's good for her, I hope. And, I don't know if it's kind of normal or not, but pulling my daughter out of school for 2 weeks is a little scary. I mean, she will do a lot of homework while in Japan, but I think of course, we talked to the teacher about it, and there's a little max of the days that we can pull the kids away from the school. We don't have it in Japan, that kind of system. I don't think we have it in Japan, but in the US, there are certain days that we can miss for whatever reasons besides sick. And if we go below that, there is going to be something. So this is probably the maximum of that. And she's 9, so it's a very good time to come. At the same time, it's a kind of sad time to miss things, I guess. Well, but just 2 weeks. My folks pulled me for international travel, and I always learned more from the trip than they missed school. Oh, that's good to hear. So never experienced that in my childhood. I was always in the school. My family really didn't do the traveling much. Oh, I mean, we had some family travel, but we had a family business ongoing, so traveling to somewhere was really, really rare things to do. We never took the airplane. I never got onto the airplane until the age of 19, which is the time for the freshman, to be the freshman of the university, that was the first time I got on the plane. Oh, I think I was so naive and so nervous about going onto the airplane. That was pretty good memory. Well. Yeah, so this is another time for me to reconnect to the origin, and I hope something. This fabric is a little tight, just too much ink on it. So I don't know how many people have used this fabric, but if you purchase this fabric and if you find that the needle doesn't run, it's not because of you, it's because of the fabric. So please dry it outside. When the ink is kind of soft and a little bit too much, it prevents the needle's movement. So if you are having that kind of difficult time, then the best thing is to dry it outside, or I mean hanging dry it with air if possible. Or if it doesn't help even drying, then we can put some like this kind of thin fabric, put it on top of it, and then steam it a little bit from those iron steam it. Then the excessive ink is gonna transfer to this, and you can wash it off. That should help. But I don't have time for that right now, so I will just push through it. But yeah, at the same time, it's not impossible to do it. It's just in different rhythm. It's a very tricky things. Like, you know, as we ship those fabric all over the world, the worst case scenario is have the very, very, very thin patterns pre-printed and it was about to wash it off by just carrying it or, you know, moving things around. So we kind of try to have a little, I wouldn't say excessive, but it's a little bit stronger than we probably should. And as a result, if it's fresh one, it can get a little sticky. But same idea, same way to stitch. Just a little bit of different rhythm. Oh. My daughter might be coming down. Wow, but my mom is also getting old, so it's really good things for, I mean, you know, even to see her is actually a good thing, I guess. Leo, you can come if you want. Ready? I thought she was gonna come downstairs. Ah, I probably mentioned about the family crest that I would do sometimes. I don't know if I mentioned it in English. Initially, initially I was planning to do it over the live streaming, but I enjoyed it too much that I kind of completed already. Like, where is that? Please don't judge the table here. Oh, here. So it doesn't take much time to do it. It's just this much, and it was pretty fun. I was planning to show it in live streaming, but well, so I wasn't planning to do this today. This wasn't the choice much, but Is this because of the needle? Maybe. So when you feel a little bit of dull or pushback from the fabric on your needle, the first thing I recommend is to check if the ink is too strong or fabric is too kind of fresh for that matter. But the second reason is, of course, the needle itself. It can get dull at some point. I don't know if this was based on the cherry blossom. I don't know how to translate this word. Eh? I don't know if this has the English version. In Japanese, it's called karahana. It means karahana. It is based on the... It's probably not a specific flower. It says it's from China. We just only know the name and a little bit of a story. Is that my family crest? No, my family crest is a little different. I don't want to stitch much. I've seen that so many times. No, it's not mine. I don't. My family has the family crest. I think we do. That's a very good question. I think many people have the family crest, but we don't talk about it much. And that's a very... I don't know if there are... Well, there was a class in the Edo period, so I don't know if those lower class... Samurai was more for the samurai, you know. So, based on the class, some family might not have it. Or probably immigrant people to Japan might not have it. I don't know, but that's a very good question. I don't know if Japanese people here, but do you have your own common? But we have like many patterns. It's like a few thousand or even 10,000. I mean, of course, a little bit of variation here and there. But no, not 10,000. I'm sorry, that might be wrong. That must be wrong. Well, let me Google it. Well, I wasn't wrong. I was not wrong. More than 25,000. So yeah, I was even less. So it's kind of fun to look through that. We have several patterns. We don't have like 225,000 patterns for Sashiko, but we do have several of those like chosen, picked for the stitching purpose. Not everything is good for the purpose. Not everything does not look like this kind of solid. So we have the kind of library to go through that. What kind of pattern is good? What's not? Google called karahana the imaginary Chinese flower. Well, then it is probably imaginary Chinese flower. It is called yae karahana. So it's the 8 layer of. Huh? I don't know if it's the good translation, but it's 8 layers of karahana. And don't ask me which samurai was using this family crest. I'm not the history person. But I learning this kamon can be another way to reconnect oneself to the Japanese origin, and it comes. Although I do not personally stitch my own kamon for several reasons, it also kind of represents the dignity as well. So I am now kind of talking bad about my family crest, but if somebody talk bad about my family crest, I would probably get quite upset to defend myself. So it's more than the design, it's more than the just for the stitching pattern. And I think Sashiko is the same to me too. It's more than that. So when people say just Sashiko, it's just the Sashiko and stitching. It is very true. It's just the stitching, nothing more than that. As a practice, like from the figure wise, yes, it is just a stitching. But personally, when we include my feeling, it's only my family or my friends who has been seeing me stitching for years who can say that it's just stitching. I don't want anybody to say that it's just stitching if they don't stitch the way we do. Do you or anyone in the chat prefer to stitch fabric and then sew something, or do you like to work on the finished pre-made item? It depends. My preference is always to stitch first, but I can stitch on the finished item like denim, and I find reconstructing the denim is more problematic than stitching right as is. So my answer would be, if I have a choice to stitch it first, I do. If not, I suck it up. Like, yeah, ripping the denim into pieces and stitch and then reconstruct can be quite annoying process. So wow, 15 minutes already. So I probably will stop the live streaming after this much thread. If you're watching this as the archive, please leave me the comment. I will talk about it the next time. And next live streaming next week is gonna be the last live streaming for the month of November. I will spend those 2 weeks in Japan to reconnect myself to the origin. As much as I say speak up the importance of origin, I have to face that too. Sharon, my stitching is better than my sewing, so I like to find promising soft denim at thrift store. Yeah, that's a kind of fun journey to find something we can stitch on. But it probably depends on what is the choice available. Like once we get used to it, the difference between stitching the plain fabric and stitching on the denim, like those constructed one, is not that huge. I mean, it's a little bulky, of course, but the difference is not like that big. For example, if one use the hoop, they probably have to deconstruct if they want to stitch on the denim. But this practice, Sashiko, was developed in a situation where they had to stitch ongoing, right? Like it's not something that they can stitch and then complete it. It's the ongoing stitch. So one kind of has to be able to do both. So being able to do both is probably good. But time to when busy it is hard to want to sew the whole garment. Yeah. So it's really about the choice and time, capacity, ability. I don't use sewing machine well. I really don't. So as Sharon say, I usually if that's for me, I would get the denim first or jacket first. But there's nothing wrong with patching those things. So when I patch this on the denim, then I would stitch this one first and then patch it. Did I change the needle? Oh, I probably didn't. Oh. Trick-or-treating is kind of tiring, huh? It's like a physical exercise. It's one of the culture I didn't have. I don't know. No, we didn't do any trick-or-treating in Japan. I don't know if we had a Halloween event. Right now, they have pretty big Halloween event in Tokyo or somewhere else, but I don't know if that was the case when I was a child. If I could see or design like your mom, I would do it in that order. Yeah, but that's again, that's the original order is to do the fabric first, then keep adding the stitching later on. So both way as is. As is is probably not the good Japanese. I mean good English. Okay. The first jack-o'-lantern were turnips. You could curve a tire cone. What? Those are kind of the word I don't use it. What is the daikon? Daikon, probably? The Japanese daikon? That's probably it, right? That's a good point. We probably could do that. Yeah, and I pronounce it 2 times and then realize it's a daikon. Yes, it's the big radish. Ah, thank God. I sometimes feel like, there are so many words that I do not know because I did not grow up in this country, in this culture, in this language. I can communicate. And many friends and people are very kind. So if I say if I make a face that I didn't get it, they rephrase it. They use the different word to explain the situation. So there's no problem in terms of communicating, I guess. But the vocabulary itself is very, very, very limited. I don't read as much. I read in Japanese because the speed of receiving the information is like a lot different. So and nobody forced me to read English like I was forced in the college. So the vocabulary doesn't really go up. As the result, my daughter judged me for my English. Well, Daddy doesn't know that much English, and yes, no, I don't. I do not, and that's okay for me. And this is the reason I kind of sometimes, well, this is the reason I believe that anybody can do the language even after when they become adult. It's just a matter of commitment. And again, commitment is the difficult part. One cannot commit few years in just learning the language. It's we have to make a living, we have to take off somebody, so it's really not. I'm not blaming those who do not learn Japanese to teach Sashiko, but it's just a matter of commitment. I did not speak any English. I knew English a little bit, of course, because that was the part of the school, but speaking wise, listening wise, nope. It's all after 19. It's the matter of commitment, seriousness, I would say probably. If one is very serious, probably this one. So for example, respect for me is it's a very good word, and I often use that too. But respect can be fulfilled when the action come along. I respect you itself is a very nice positive word, but that respect requires some action. So when some Sashiko teachers or those who publish books saying that I do really respect Japanese culture, Japanese, then my initial think is, well, then why don't you talk to other Japanese in Japanese if they are really, really respecting that? The language is one action to make that word very true. But they don't have time for that because they're so busy with, making money with that. And interestingly, it's very interestingly, those who can speak Japanese and English both, and who lives in English countries, they don't teach, they don't publish book because they know what they don't know. So, do you think learning the language, especially Japanese, is enough to understand the culture? No, I don't think so. You may have to live in there. You have to be probably the part of the community, which can be quite ugly at some point. But that's a very good start. It's just the start. The language itself is not gonna be the answer. It's not gonna fulfill every need. But without that, it's impossible. I can confirm that. It's impossible to understand the Japanese culture to the level of teaching. To experience Japanese culture, different story. Like, if you don't mind being the guest, and if you don't mind being treated as the guest, no Japanese is, it's a choice. That'd be great. But the choice. But if it's more than that, I mean, even the US, you have to be able to speak English to get a citizenship here. I think. I don't know. I think we have to pass the test to be the citizenship. There's a lot of exam. We have to pass the exam. Immigrants have to pass the exam of I think it's the consist of history, politics system like constitution, and what else? I forgot because I don't plan to take it at this moment. But there are some exam, and without that, if you don't pass it, they don't give it to you. So that's the commitment. That's something we have to go through. And no, to Sue's question, no, I don't think the learning language is going to be enough for that. But it's a very good start, or it's actually the necessary start to do that. All right. Oh, after 10 o'clock. Thank you so much for coming to the live streaming. And oops. The citizenship test is in English. It's got a little more difficult. Ooh. It used to be a simple test, but you can get a green card and permanent residency without speaking a word of English. That's a probably different story. So, permanent residency, like me, are sort of a guest still. Like, we are legally allowed to be here, and we, as the legal alien, think we contribute to this culture by paying tax, not a lot much tax, but appropriate amount of tax. But I do not ask for the right to be the part of that because I know my situation. I am still the guest. I wish I could have the citizenship. Like if I could allow to have the dual citizenship, I would have taken that already. But because Japanese doesn't allow the dual citizenship, I have to kind of, make a little wiggle room for that. But yeah, one day I have to make a choice for that too. But yeah, it's very unreasonable to say that you have to learn Japanese to understand Japanese culture. If one is willing to learn the Japanese culture for the purpose of learning, not making it more profitable or, being expert on that. If it's for their own purpose, I am very much willing to share what I can. So this live streaming is one of those. My teaching is one of those. It's all about somehow to communicate the Japanese culture and the stitching from that to those who do not speak Japanese. Well, that's why I write that much on the Instagram and everywhere else. So I hope that one day I can have a good amount of writing but I don't know if I can explain everything, but I will try my best. I keep trying. So I believe that my English got pretty better improved every year, every day probably for that matter. So, one day I may be able to find a way to explain that. All right, I hope you have a good night tonight. I will see you next Thursday once again. It's gonna be after time change, so if you are not from the US or the time change zone, be careful. It's gonna be 1 hour late, 1 hour before. It's gonna be 9 o'clock right now, so they changed the time. Okay, I hope you have a good night, and I will see you next weekend, not a weekend, next Thursday. Bye bye.